Today we're making beef jerky. If you go on the internet, you'll find a zillion recipes for beef jerky. And in fact, I never make mine the same twice, which is why I can't really show you the whole process because I didn't really know what it was going to be. I thought, oh, well, let's see, I have half a pineapple in the refrigerator, so let's make it a Hawaiian beef jerky. So I took the half of the pineapple and I cut it into pieces about this size and put it into my little processor here. Ground it up so it's basically little chunks. And then I have a little trick I use. I score the skin, and you can usually get, see all the juice coming out of there? And this is not a particularly juicy pineapple either, so I use the juice from the skin. And then I have 2 garlics that, pressed in there, or you could just mince them real well. I have 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of molasses, and half a teaspoon of homemade, knock your socks off, Thai spice. And I just mix that up. And I'm going to put this in the refrigerator and go cut the beef now. Okay, we have about a pound of brisket here. We're supposed to use a lean cut of meat for making jerky, and I've got some of it in the marinade already. And I froze it for 2 weeks prior to that because in Sally Fallon's book, Nourishing Traditions, she recommends if you're going to eat raw meat that you freeze it for 2 weeks to destroy some of the parasites. And although I'm not going to eat this raw, but I just thought it would be a good idea to do that. Also, I was hoping that I would be able to keep it pretty much frozen and use my meat slicer, but I let it defrost too much. There's a fine line between having it rock hard frozen and just slightly frozen so that you can use your meat slicer. So I ended up having to slice this by hand, and I think next time I'm going to just ask the butcher to do it. But I like to slice mine cross grain. If you slice it with the grain, you're going to get a tough jerky. But if you slice it across the grain, it'll be more brittle. It'll be easier to chew. So I am going to just put this in here. It should be about 3/8 of an inch. Which is kind of hard to do when you're doing it by hand, but and I'm just going to get it nice and mushed up in here. And then I'm going to put a lid on it and put it in the refrigerator overnight, and then we'll dehydrate it tomorrow. Here is our marinated beef, and I have a caution for you. This has been in the refrigerator for a number of hours and it's raw meat, so I would suggest for food safety that you do not reuse the marinade. And another caution for you is that when you put them on the tray, they're a little bit sloppy, and unless you want to be cleaning all the trays underneath, you probably want to put this on the bottom. And also, if you have something drippy on the top, you're going to flavor whatever else you have dehydrating on the bottom, which is probably going to be a bad thing. I mean, maybe it's just a new creative recipe. Just a caution for you. Now, to get this on the tray, I just use my 2 fingers and I just get that sauce off there and put them down like that. And then pick up the next one and then do like the same thing, and then until they're all finished. And this is really cold, so I had to go, I did this and I had to go warm my fingers up. So I'm going to do all these, and then I'm going to put them in the dehydrator on the jerky setting, which is 155 degrees, for about 6 to 12 hours. Here's our jerky after it's been in the dehydrator for about 6 hours. At about 5 hours, I flipped it over and then put it in for another hour. Now the trays get pretty messy, so you want to, and this had raw meat on it, so you want to make sure you carefully wash this with soapy water. And the tray as well, you can see it's sticking. To store the food, you want to put it in an airtight container. You can use a Ziploc bag. That's fine, and you want to keep it in a cool, dark, dry place. If you leave it out, you can keep it for about a week or 2. If you put it in the refrigerator, it will last for 2 to 3 months. And if you put it in the freezer, it will be good for a year or longer. If at any time you see mold, it's no good, throw it out. If you want your jerky to last a long, long time, you can do the serious dehydration thing where you get the vacuum sealers that sucks the air out of the bags, and And then you put these little packets in that gets rid of the oxygen and the moisture, and then you put that inside a Mylar bag, and you can actually preserve this for 10, 20, even 30 years. I highly recommend that you have an emergency supply of food. You never know, it's earthquakes and storms and electrical outages, and this is a fantastic thing to store. It's lightweight, you don't have to cook it, and it's highly nutritious. To tell when this is done, these should not break, they should crack, but you have to fight with it a little bit, but it shouldn't just crack open like that. It's a good recipe. Very good. I guess a keeper. So there you have the pineapple marinated beef jerky.